Gotcha.
Welcome to Daily Grace. We're so glad you're with us here on Thursday afternoon. Maybe you're watching it later in the day or even on Friday, but we're here Thursday at noon enjoying this. I got Tom Vermillion with me. Before we get to Tom, just a couple of things. Yesterday on Daily Grace, Ben and I talked about where do we get our news and how do we process that. And so if you haven't seen that, that would be pretty helpful for you, I think, in figuring stuff out. Earlier in the week, Kelly and I talked about what's coming up this Sunday as we open up again. And so be watching for that. You can go back and see that. Again, we'll send out an email today with the sign up, which service that you can sign up for to make sure we're appropriately spaced. So just be watching for that. Okay, that's housekeeping. Tom, thanks for coming in. Tom Vermillion, friend of many of us at Grace, an elder here, a dad, a community leader. We're just so glad that you're here today.
We're glad to be here, Jason.
Yeah. So we're going to converse a little bit about life and that kind of stuff, but then also about business. So that's where we're going to get to. But first, you moved to Kinston as a teenager, didn't you?
I did. I moved in 1981.
Wow.
From Ohio. I'd lived in New Jersey, Ohio, Indiana, Maryland, up a bunch of different places before we moved down here.
Just running from the law?
Yeah, that's right. My dad kept getting transferred with his company, and so we kept moving.
Wow.
And as he moved up, one of the last things he did was work with a vending company that was his job was to go and find other vending companies that wanted to be a franchisee of this particular company. And so he was in North Carolina. He was in Kinston visiting actually Wynn Edwards' grandfather, who owned Carolina Industrial Vendors. And when they got done meeting, Wynn's granddad said, "Well, Gordon, I'm not interested in being a franchisee of you, of your company, but I am interested in selling my company to you."
You're kidding.
And my dad said, "Yeah,
no
that's
idea.
exactly how it worked." And so my dad was kind of blown away, came back, talked to my mom, and next thing you know, we're moving to North Carolina.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So Wynn was one of the first young people that I met.
Wow.
When I got here.
So you've been friends since 81.
Yeah, a long time.
Wow. And so you were 81. What were you in?
Oh,
middle
ninth
school?
grade, starting ninth grade. Yep. So
Okay. K-High?
K-High. It was actually, at the time, they had the junior high and the high school. The high school was 10th through 12th.
Right.
The junior high was 8th and 9th, which was the old Granger school. So my first year was there and then moved to the high school.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great. A good time.
And FCA played a big part in your story.
It did.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Bobby Wolf, I was, of course, into sports and, played football, wrestled, actually, which is a little, probably most people didn't know because I love basketball so much.
Yeah, right.
But I wrestled because my dad was a wrestler, and I wrestled since I was a little kid.
Wow.
And Bobby Wolf, and I also played baseball, but Bobby Wolf was the head football coach, varsity football coach, but he also was the wrestling coach. And so as a ninth grader, I wrestled. There was only one team, so and most people started wrestling in ninth grade in North Carolina. I had already had 8 years. I was,
wow.
So I was ahead of everybody and had a really good time. And anyway, he poured Jesus into me. That he was only there 1 year, and then he moved to another school. But he got me tracking with FCA, invited me, got me looking at my Bible for the first time. I'd never really done it. But one of the seniors from that year graduated, but stayed in Kinston, went to LCC, and he kept the FCA huddle going. So it was only 5 guys.
Wow.
But we would study the Word and stayed in touch with Coach Wolf. And so my sophomore summer, I came to I had an opportunity to go to Black Mountain, North Carolina for FCA National Conference. And there were 500 or 600 guys there at this conference. And the room right across from my room and all the places it could have been was Bobby Wolf. And
kidding.
That was his room. And so we talked every night after all the huddles and everything, the speakers and everything. And one night I gave my life to Christ. There at Black Mountain, and so that's a special place for me.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh man, I just thought you gave your life to Christ through a huddle at K-High, but it was really a longer journey.
It was.
and a real investment.
Almost a full 2 years, really.
Wow. Wow. So then you went on to Carolina.
Went to UNC.
And that's when things get really exciting.
Yeah, I guess. My faith grew exponentially at Carolina. I went in my dorm. I was a freshman. I was the only one there was a quad, I guess, or a suite, I guess you would call it. So there's 4 guys sharing one bathroom. I was the only one there for the first couple of days because I was the only freshman in that suite. And so the first time a guy comes is my suite mate, David Page. And I happened to have my Bible open. I was reading it. And I was, like I said, I was a believer, but I hadn't had a whole lot outside that small little huddle of any kind of fellowship. And he immediately said, "Oh, you're reading your Bible?" And, he was a Christian, and we connected right away. And so I had going to college you can make the right turn or the wrong turn. And, God put the right people in my place to get me started with InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, which is where I ended up meeting Susan's sister Sherry at Carolina, and then Kevin Ford, who Leighton, we had his dad Leighton was on the podcast last week. So anyway, just a tremendous Christian fellowship that built me up and grew me. We did small groups, so small groups was in my DNA from the very beginning, which led to being here at Grace and being involved in small groups. So
did you meet Gayla through?
I did meet Gayla through InterVarsity.
Yeah.
So I usually don't.
You're a lucky man.
Well, I am. I don't do things small. So I was involved in InterVarsity. I was involved in FCA. I was involved in Athletes in Action through my relationship on the football team.
Wow.
So I had a lot of Christian connections and was growing a lot. But yeah, had met Gayla.
Did you even go to class? You
I
actually graduated.
I did graduate. I do have a diploma on my wall, so I think that counts.
You got him.
I won't tell you what my GPA was, but
we don't look at those anymore.
But anyway, so met her through one of the InterVarsity events we had. Just had gotten to know her for a couple years, and as everybody gets towards your junior, you start thinking, hey, am I going to meet somebody that might be a lifetime companion? And sure enough, I just started praying, Lord, lead me to the right person. And we were on one of the InterVarsity retreats, and I just asked her if she wanted to go for a walk and talk a little bit, get to know each other better, and that was the start.
Wow. So, that's a great start, though. Guys, prayer and then ask to go for a walk. I like it. And be on an InterVarsity retreat or a campus ministry retreat. No, it's true. It's all about the friends you make in that first week or 2 or 3 or month or semester of college in terms of order of your life. Okay, so and then the rest is history for great kids who we all love. In fact, it was so fun on Monday. Several of us had a little picnic and just got to just spend a lot of time with Hannah and Thomas and Allie, just talking and catching up with them. Excited about Hannah's wedding coming up.
That's right.
I forget his name. Who's he? No, Brandon, we love you. I'm just kidding. But anyway, just a rich family. I'd love to transition then to talking a little bit about your role in business. I never get the swag, but Tom always has Depp swag.
Got to have my Depp swag on.
And I love that you have Carolina blue.
Just happened to be that was the shirt I picked, but
I love it. Okay, so longer term, but short term, just for now. Here we are, sort of still coming out of the lockdown, or whatever you want to call it. But the last 3 months have been crazy. As a business owner, tell me how things have been different for you.
Yeah, of course. Especially in the very beginning when they say you're going to lock things down and you're only going to have essential businesses working. Of course, nobody knew who was going to be included in that and who was going to be open, who was not going to be open. And so you really start, for me, I got really anxious. I really had to pray, Lord, you lead me today. You lead me today. Every day was a new adventure as this thing kind of went on. And we were designated early on as an essential business because of security and fire alarms that we work on and camera systems, access control, a lot of things that people need to have to be able to get to where they need to go, as well as the guard side, which we do quite a bit of too. So But you still didn't know like who was going to be, saying yes to a quote that you'd done 2 months ago,
Right.
and who was going to be saying, well, look, we're just going to wait
Yeah,
until
we're
we
putting it off.
see what happens. So yeah, the first few weeks were very anxious. I was very anxious, but continued to give it up to the Lord. I
Because
did
you were really feeling it, pardon me, but
Yeah.
for the families that are supported, like
I
you,
did.
you have employees with families,
That's right.
breadwinners.
On the security system side, we have 24 team members, and you know I feel a great weight to them to
Yeah.
take care of them and make sure that that I'm doing all I can that they are going to be able to take care of their families. Because there's probably 50, 60, 70 folks represented just in the families there. So that was important. And so what we did was we just communicated a lot. We had back on our back dock, we'd gather and we'd talk about what was going on, who had fears, who had things that they were worried about, prayer requests. And so we prayed a lot, and we sought the Lord, and kind of every week we weren't really sure what we were going to be able to do, but there was enough every week to get us through the next week. So we've been able to get through fairly well over the last 2 months to even this week feeling like some doors are opening up now.
That's great.
Where I feel like there's more people are saying, hey, let's go ahead and do this thing that we quoted 4 months ago. Let's go ahead and do it. So
that's great.
So the Lord's been good for sure.
That's great. I don't know if you can hear this on the live stream, but the rain is pouring down. It's unbelievable.
It is coming down.
We clearly are not in a bunker or in a soundstage.
No.
But let me ask you about C12, which is a group that you've been a part of for a number of years. What is it, and why are you still a part of it, or how has it helped you?
Well, for small businesses and entrepreneurs, there's not a lot of bigger companies have board of directors, and you've got people you're accountable to, and you have to do certain things on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis that you're going to be judged with or judged for and held accountable to. And with small businesses, you don't have that a lot of times. It's a single owner or family-owned business, and there's just not a lot of back and forth or accountability. I could say I got to do this, this, and this, and I don't do it. What's going to happen?
Right.
Like, I mean,
I'm not going to fire yourself.
Yeah, I'm not firing myself. I'm not throwing myself in jail or whatever. Just because I'm not doing something right. So C12 offers one accountability in a Christian environment. So it's Christian business owners getting together monthly to talk about their businesses. But then the extra component, besides the fellowship of just getting to know other brothers that are going through similar things, like this whole thing is we did weekly Zoom meetings with our group just to find out, hey, how are you doing? What are you doing? What prayer requests do you have? How can I help you? How can you help me? So that was really good. And Jim Steele, who is a member of Tanglewood, is my C12 leader, and just does a great job.
He's solid.
He is a fantastic guy.
Yeah.
Loves us, cares for us, and has a good mind to help us through issues and problems and stuff. So C12 has been really been a lifeline for me and for my business. And so that final component is not only we work on our business, but we work the spiritual side of our business. How are we, it's important to me that depths represent Christ well in the world, and I've got team members, I've got customers, I've got vendors, and the community. And I want that to be represented well when people see our folks. Does that mean everybody at Down East is Christian? I don't know, and I'm not saying that's the case. But I want everybody knows I'm a Christian at my business, and they know I've said, look, I'm going to make mistakes. Like, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to run this business and honor the Lord in the process. We have a care coach, Clay Gerald, who you may know Clay.
Yeah, I love Clay.
He's our company care coach, so I pay, or we as a company pay workplace care to provide Clay to us on a weekly basis. He's available really 24/7, but he comes to our office once a week and is there to meet with our guys and our ladies and just be there as a resource if anything's going on. So that's been, one of the things that I've provided that, maybe most workplaces don't have or don't even think that
Right.
you could have,
Yeah.
So anyway, those are some of
So,
the things.
so in business, if what I love about my dad was an entrepreneur, and so I love this idea of risk and getting out there and seeing what God would have you do in the world in a new way. What would you say to a young woman, a young man who's going to start their own business or has maybe just started it or a year in? Like, what are some of the things that here's 2 or 3 quick things that just can make all the difference?
Yeah. Well, first, if you're not a risk taker, don't do it. Like, get a job, work for a company.
Yeah, and that's a good thing too.
Because it really is. You will drive yourself crazy. I mean, it really, and I know people from both sides of the fence, and it's hard to cross that barrier, because you have to put yourself out there, and you have to be willing that that's okay. That you might not make it, you might not succeed. So anyway, that would be one. But
so true.
but I think the 3 things that I look at, and it's kind of, there's components to each one. First is mission, vision, and values. Those are critical to have those, and to know why are you doing what you're doing, and how are you going to do what you're doing, and what are going to be your core values in that. Ours is competence and compassion, attitude, accountability, respect, and enthusiasm. That's what I tell every person that comes in the door that wants to come to work for us. That's what we're going to live into. Are we going to be perfect? No. But we're going to live into these values.
Yeah.
And when you do, then you've got a set of standards that everybody can bounce off of, and say, okay, yeah, that's where we are. If not, if you don't set those, you don't have a mission. Ours is to provide peace of mind by protecting people and property with competence and compassion.
Yeah.
So competence and compassion are 2 of our values. So if you're not willing to do, you might be smart as all get out and can take care of any alarm system in the world, but if you're not going to be a good person and care for the people that you're dealing with, because these people may have just been broken into and violated in some way that makes it, uncomfortable. And you can't be arrogant. Just like a doctor, you don't want a doctor telling you, well, you're going to die tomorrow, but and just walk away.
Bedside manner matters.
Bedside manner, and it matters in this business. Or at least I want it to.
Yeah, that's right.
is kind of the way we're. So mission, vision, values are important. I would say, many of you probably have seen The Prophet, Marcus on The Prophet. He's really good at going through, and one of his things is people, process, and products. So the 3 Ps. People are critical. If you don't have good people, it's going to be hard to do whatever you want to do. No matter how good you are, if you don't have a good team around you, it's going to be very difficult to do. So people, processes, and products, that ties into being able to do what you're doing well. And then I say the last thing, and this is kind of a business thing, more specifically, people with, it's accounting, but cash is king. You've heard cash is king.
Yeah.
Well, so many small businesses that I know that have failed because they don't have adequate cash flow, and they don't keep up with their cash flow. You can sell $1 million worth of stuff, but if you only collect $100,000 of that, you're not going to be in business long.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you got to be willing to ask and to be able to pursue and have good processes in place, which is why the people processes product, to be able to collect your money. Because if you do a good job, you want to get paid for that. But you won't believe how many people don't pay you. Or put you off, And so now you're supposed to be paying for your product from your supplier in 30 days, and you don't have somebody pay you for 60. Well, that can get upside down real quick if that happens a lot. So anyway, those would be my 3 things.
Cash is king. Business, also families. I mean, you have got to have margin. Like, you have got to have.
Yes.
So
I'm
going pastor here. It's like every family, if COVID has taught us anything and our jobs aren't as secure, is you better have an emergency fund and don't have credit card debt. Like, it's just that simple. All right, sermon over. Sorry.
I would agree.
Cash is king, though. That's really interesting. And I wouldn't have thought of that as the top 3, but I appreciate you putting that there for businesses.
What would your top 3 have been? Or do you have one that I missed?
No, I like those. I didn't have anything. Are you kidding? I go on this show to learn. I'm learning from you. In fact, I'm going to learn from you in a whole different way. We're going to leave business now and go to current events just here as we sort of end for a little bit. George Floyd, the tragedy, the horror a couple days ago, and it's hard. It's just hard to know and to watch and to see and then to think, and then What do we do? I mean, how are you processing this, Tom? I mean, you have been in our community since 1981. Just how are you processing this?
Yeah, it's been very, very difficult. I mean, you just see it seems like one event after the other, and you can go back a couple of years and there were other events, and years after that was other events. It seems like more and more you're seeing these things happen, and they're just not coincidences. They're just not. I mean, there is a systemic problem, in our world, and it's sin. I mean, and we've got, as the body of Christ, and especially as a white Christian, how do I deal with it? How do I love my neighbors? How do I love? I mean, we're in a community that's as mixed as it can be, as far as the racial mix, and we've got to figure out how do we love people and care for people, and then how can we hold them up in a way that, I mean, they are precious. I mean, there's no difference between us other than the color of our skin.
Image of God.
That's right. We're all in the image of God. And so, it's been very difficult. How we process and how we go forward. I thought your piece that you wrote this morning was very right on, at least getting us started to have this conversation. And how do we keep it going so that it doesn't just stop and wait for the next event? That's the difficult part.
That's a good point. That is a good point. And you really, and several in our body and a lot in our community really do lead, not with their chin. So for me, as someone who talks for a living or writes blogs for a living, it is a little bit, well, am I living up to what I'm writing? So it's hard sometimes because it's not about the words. But there are a lot of people in our community and across Eastern North Carolina that really do want to make a difference. It isn't going to happen overnight, but we don't stop trying. We don't stop loving folks and pursuing justice.
And I spent a lot of time with Kinston High School football and the folks there, and Kinston High now it's no secret it's close to 100% African American, or very close to that, and there's a lot of great guys that I've seen come through the program in the last 10 years. A lot of great guys. But talking with my fellow coaches over the years, we've had a good mix of white and black coaches on the team. But just having conversations with them that I've never had with my own family. One of the things that the guys were telling me was that, not how they have to teach their young boys growing up is that, they've got to really be careful when they get pulled over by a cop, and how they need to put their hands up on the steering wheel as soon as they see that, and keep them visible. And don't say anything unless you're asked, and stuff that I just don't. I mean, my dad didn't have that conversation with me. I didn't have that with my son or my daughters. And so now I'm thinking, man, there is a different paradigm, and it's been going on a long time. But if you don't ever have those conversations, you don't ever get to know somebody in that way, then it's hard to understand where they're coming from. You say, "Oh, we'll just be nice and you'll be fine."
Yeah,
well, that doesn't work.
It's not that easy.
That's not that easy.
There's more to it. Tom, thanks for sharing your heart with us and your time, and a little bit into how God's led you in your business, in your family, and then also into our community. We are hopeful, hope-filled, as the gospel continues to grow, that He is going to meet us in this as we, the body, lean on Him and kneel before Him in humility on behalf of our country, on behalf of our neighbors and fellow citizens. We're charged with interceding, so let's do it. Let's be about it. And let's not stop there. Let's keep taking every step and having every conversation and joining in different ways. God will lead you as you ask Him to. But let's not just kind of send stuff around on Facebook and think we've done our part. Like it's more. God has more for us. And I say that knowing I just sent something else out on Facebook, so I'm not. Hey, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to being together on Sunday at 10:30. What did I say? On Sunday.
We got a lot of different times.
3 services, baby. Go to the website, find them out, sign up, come to which service, and take care, y'all. Thanks for being with us.